Let's start with the questions, and I'll try to get as many in. Well, I'm going to call on people. Wait a minute. I'm not going to take your question because other people have been raised. Yes, go right there. Okay, let me see. They're right back there. This man right there here we go, right there. You are very rude, and I'm not going to ever call on you. Thank you.
Thank you.
It started a long time ago when I saw Juanita Broaddrick give the interview on Dateline NBC. That was in February of 1999. Anybody can look that up on YouTube. And at the time, I was in a rape support group and a rape survivor support group. And I just sat there and I said to my husband, I said, this is amazing. This woman, I think she's telling the truth. She's like many of the people I know. So I was just really surprised, and I thought the National Organization for Women would take it up. You know, I talked about that the next day. I went to work, and I was talking to somebody about it, and he said something really extraordinary that bummed me out. He said, well, it's not like this woman is a virgin or anything, so what's the big deal? I said, wow. I said, so your mother is open season on your mother then? Because she's probably not a virgin either. I was just so mad. And then I expected Now to take it up or something. And that just didn't happen. I was kind of shocked. They gave Clinton a total pass. Clinton said through his lawyer, oh, it's not true. And they accepted that. They didn't ask for any other explanation beyond that, any evidence that would show that she was lying, or anything that showed that he was someplace else than where she said. Even little things, they wouldn't say nothing. So when Al Gore came to town in December of '99, I asked him about it, and he answered in a remarkable way, where he told me that we should forgive the sin, but love the sinner, and he talked about consensual relationships, as if I had not asked about a rape. And yet he did not even know who Juanita Broaddrick was himself. He did not see the interview. That really surprised me, because I introduced myself when I first asked the question as an American of, proud to be of French Canadian descent, which makes no sense unless you understand the context of everything else he was saying before that. The second time he told us he was of French descent, I thought, what the heck is he doing? He's already told us that he's French, and being French and being French Canadian are two totally different things. He must know that the demographics in the state are there are a lot of people of French Canadian descent here. He's pandering to that. Wow. Okay, so that's why I stood up. That was sort of my way of saying that. I sort of said to him, I know that you are, that you do a lot of research on where you go and the people and the demographics. So for him to not see that was just nuts. But I didn't follow up or confront him on it because I was just in such awe of being in the presence of the vice president. Well, when the woman called me soon after that, she saw it on television. And I asked her all the questions. She already knew that I thought she was believable, but I just asked her all the questions that people who told me that she was not believable, what they were telling me. And I found her to be even, more credible. That's even possible. But she told me something pretty chilling. She said that soon after the rape, a few days later, she was going to an event. It's hard for her to get out of it because the person that she was with wanted to go, and she didn't want to explain. It was easier to just go, make a quick appearance, and then leave, instead of explaining to this person that she was going with why she wasn't. And when she got there, Hillary Clinton made a beeline for her and thanked her for everything she was doing for the campaign. And Juanita told me she thought that was odd. She was not doing as much for the campaign as other people in the room, so why would she be singled out like this? She wasn't doing much, actually, for the campaign. And then Hillary squeezed her arm and said, do you understand what I'm saying? Thank you for all you do and for what you'll continue to do. And Juanita told me she thought that Hillary knew at the time that she had been raped. And I said, are you sure that she couldn't have thought it was... most wives in that situation would think that was a consensual relationship, and she's not leaving her husband, or she probably thought it was an affair, right? And I was very clear about that, and so was she when she said no. She knew it was a rape because the person that was the driver to that event for Mrs. Clinton was somebody that was in the same social circle as Juanita Broderick. She knew this person, but Hillary did not know that. She knew this person through a friend, not really closely, but this person was talking about what Hillary Clinton was saying on the way to that event. So that made Mrs. Broderick feel quite certain that Hillary Clinton knew it was a rape. In any case, she was afraid to talk about it and just wanted it to go away, so she would just avoid discussing it for many, many years, and even would say that it didn't happen and file an affidavit saying that, until the FBI started asking her about it. I think that was during Tim Starr's investigation. And Mrs. Broderick's son was by then a lawyer and told her, you can't lie to the FBI even if you want to. Don't do that. Don't lie. So then she told the truth. Now, Ken Starr's investigation was pretty narrow. He was trying to prove that women were coerced by Clinton to stay quiet. And because that was not fitting into the narrow scope of his investigation, he couldn't use that story. He couldn't use Mrs. Broderick's testimony to prove what he was trying to prove. So that's why people are asking about charges being filed, all this stuff. But the statute of limitations is not that long, and it certainly wasn't very long in the 70s. I mean, it's gotten longer over the years. The states realize how these things affect women and why they resist talking about it for a long period of time. But so I don't think that would be covered. But I guess that's why I felt so strongly about asking Mrs. Clinton about whether or not she believed Mrs. Broderick. I tried to ask her that in '99. I led a demonstration outside of her headquarters at the Senate. Not at the Senate, but when she was running for Senate in New York City, I happened to be in New York City, so I just did that. And no answer. So in '07, when she was running around New Hampshire, I saw her at this college. I was told that I would have an opportunity to ask questions of the candidate after the speech or event. Well, it turned out that thing was a rally, not a town hall, so she didn't really take questions. After the speech, they started blaring music, and I went up and spoke to her with the crowds of people that wanted autographs and everything. And I asked her if she believed Juanita Broderick, and she said she didn't know who that was. And I had to raise my voice because I was trying to explain, that I had who she was and that she was on Dateline NBC, blah, blah, blah. But because the music was blaring, I had to raise my voice. And that's when the Secret Service removed me, and the Nashua police told me I'd be arrested if I came back. So I left the college, and that was that. And then I saw her again last summer. I asked her the same thing. This was at a parade. And she said she doesn't know who Juanita Broderick was, and she doesn't really, and she just, this was her answer. What? Who? And I said, the woman who said she was raped by Bill Clinton in 1978, and Mrs. Clinton just said, and waved her hand like she could care less about that, and it was nothing. It was not, she didn't care. So last month, when a woman asked her if she believes Juanita Broderick and Kathleen Lilly, I think Paula Jones may have been part of that question. She asked if Hillary believed those women because she says that people who say this should be believed. And Mrs. Clinton replied, not when there's evidence against them, or there's a large amount of evidence against them, or something like this. That's what Mrs. Clinton said. It was pretty clear. So when I heard that, I thought, what in the world is she talking about? Because I have been following this story closer than most people I know, and I have heard nothing about the evidence that proves Juanita Broderick is lying, Kathleen Lilly is lying, Paula Jones is lying. What is this? Is this something new? Okay, great, love to know it. So when I found out on Saturday, about a week ago, that she was coming to my town the next day, I signed up for a ticket online and went, and I knew that there was no way she would call on me because I saw her at the VFW in Derry also in November. I did not expect to go in. I was just standing there with a sign that said Hillary Clinton is the war on women. And a friend walked by and told me that she was going in and that I should go in. And I said, "Are you kidding me? I'm sure I'm on a list. I don't think I can go in. I had no intention of going in." And she goes, "No, don't worry about it. It's a free country." And I was standing there after that. And I just said, "Okay, have fun." And she goes, "I'll try to save you a seat." So after she said that, I thought, I'm looking at the VFW, and that's where my grandfather went. He's a World War II veteran. And I just thought, my grandfather, what the heck was he in World War II for again? Yeah, it is a free country. So I went back to my car, put the sign away, and told the people at the door that I did not RSVP, but could I still go in? Was there room? And the people said yes, and I wrote my name down, and I got my bag searched, and went to the metal detector, went in, sat down. I was sitting there. I was so polite. When she asked questions, I raised my hand politely. She didn't call on me, didn't yell out, didn't do anything. But as I was sitting there, I was at the end of a row, and at one point, these 5 Secret Service agents came over to where I was with chairs and unfolded them, and they kind of encircled me. And I had to sit there for a long time with these guys all encircling me. There was no way I could even get up and go. There's no path for me to even get between any of them so I could use the ladies' room or something and come back. There was nothing. I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, wow. I had a friend who was sitting behind me who I also saw when I was getting my sign out and everything. I told him I was on a list, and he's a Hillary supporter, and he thought I was being paranoid. And I said to him a couple of days later, I said, "So you saw those guys? I told you I was on a list." And he said, "I know. What the heck was that?" I was kind of shocked by that, but I had been, I've been polite. Yes, I'm a person that holds a sign outside, but I've always been, there's no way. I never threatened anybody. I never hit anybody. It's just craziness. So when I got to the event at the gymnasium where I, was doing the yelling the other day, I knew there's no way in heck that she was going to call on me. Like I said, I'm on a list. I'm surprised I even got in there. I mean, I was very open about my name and everything. I put everything that was factually correct down on the form when I signed up. So that was extraordinarily uncomfortable, and it was a very difficult decision for me to make that I had to be so impolite. But I just decided that when it became question time, I would just blurt out my question, and I did. And then she ignored me the first time, but I told her what I had just said. I said, "You told me that you don't know who Juanita Broderick is, and you told me last summer that you don't care to know who she is, and then last month you were told that you don't believe them. But I would like to know, what is the evidence against them? What has changed, and how can you assess this evidence against a woman who you don't know and don't want to know? How can you assess her story?" And then I sat back down again because someone else was starting to ask a question. Mrs. Clinton had recognized them, and I didn't want to be impolite to regular people. That was definitely not what I wanted to do. So then when it was question time again, that person had the question answered, and Mrs. Clinton was looking around for someone to ask a question of again. I got extremely bold, and I said, "I think the reason you will not discuss this is because you believe Juanita Broderick. You believe that she was raped by your husband, and you won't talk about it because you don't have evidence, because it's true." Then I sat down, and then the Secret Service guy came over to me and told me he'd have me removed if I kept these, outbursts. But by that time I kind of said everything I came to say. I was kind of emotionally drained, and I went there being prepared to be arrested. Yeah, that was I can't tell you how difficult it was to make the decision to be so impolite to Secretary Clinton, but I just felt such a moral obligation and duty to do this. We have the job here in New Hampshire of vetting candidates, and I think we ought to take that seriously. And I was seeing that only people who had index cards were asking questions at this event, as is the case at, I guess, many others. That's not an open event. Those are not open questions. Those are pre-screened questions, and that's not right. I'm not going to stand for it. and I'm also not going to stand for being bullied if that's what was the message I was supposed to get by being audited in 2000. When I was planning the rally, I have had other problems, but when the Secret Service men surrounded me, I just decided that I'm not dealing with this anymore. I'm not putting up with this. This is not right. And I also felt like, as a person in New Hampshire who actually had the ability to be in the same room with her at the moment when I could yell that out, that I had an opportunity that most people will never have, and I figured I should take it. That's the whole story. I grew up in Massachusetts, which is not very far from where I am now. It's just about 20 miles. I think you will agree that growing up, we were given two choices. You could be a Democrat. Socially, this is kind of what was presented to us. You could be a Democrat, or you could be a total a-hole. Those were your two choices. Okay, so when I was in my early 20s, I was just thinking, well, I'm not a jerk. I like people. I care about people. Okay, so I'm a Democrat. And I was surprised even that, later on, when I started thinking about things a lot more, that I had actually registered as a Democrat when I first registered to vote in this town when I moved here when I was like 22 or 3. And I started paying more attention. This is a state issue. I was working to keep a man, that support group that I was with. We also went to the state prison and talked to convicted sex offenders, and that was, of course, very intense, but I learned a lot. I met a man who killed a little boy. It was only one of them. So, that was only the one time that happened. And he also happened to be the person that was not at all on board with trying to understand the situation and understand why he did what he did and take responsibility. The other ones were doing that, or they were acting pretty well. Okay, and I actually had sympathy for them, and I could understand some of their problems because many of them were also sexual assault survivors themselves, and I felt bad about that. But I called the governor of the state. I didn't know what to do, and her aide laughed at me. And I had voted for her. She was a Democrat. It was Jane Shaheen. She's now a senator. So that was in '96, and I was just devastated. I couldn't believe that I had voted for this woman and how I had been treated. And then I started paying attention to more of the things I cared about, and I realized I'm probably more a Republican. So that's how all of that happened. But the stuff with Bill Clinton really just solidified it for me. I just couldn't believe how people were apologizing for him, or not even debating the issue, and just saying that these women were making it up. They were tramps. They asked for it. They weren't virgins, I guess. So who cares? And when I saw women that were being rewarded for going along with, say, his advances, say Monica Lewinsky, because she was offered a job that I think most people would understand she was not qualified for. She was offered a job in New York City. Vernon Jordan set her up with something just to, get her out of the way and whatever. And that's what happens when you go along with those advances. But when you don't, you get treated like Catherine Willey. You get treated like Paula Jones. Is that really is that what feminism has brought us to? Because the feminism that the Democrats are offering us, I really don't want that for my daughters. I don't want that for anybody's daughters. I don't want that for my worst enemy. I would not want that for Chelsea Clinton, for example. Not that she's my worst enemy, but I'm saying I don't think anybody should be treated that way. No woman should be treated that way. And that's the kind of thing that we should talk about, not that these women ask for it, they're trans, blah, blah, blah. It's just horrible. So that's why what really solidified my turn from being a Democrat to a Republican. I was also blind before.